The roads of Texas stretch for thousands of miles, cutting through endless plains, dark forests, and forgotten towns. By day, they are highways of life and movement. But when night falls, many of these same roads transform into corridors of fear. Drivers whisper about ghostly hitchhikers who vanish without a trace, phantom lights that chase cars through the blackness, and accidents so tragic they left spirits forever bound to the asphalt. Some roads are avoided altogether, their reputations built on screams carried by the wind and shadows that appear in headlights only to disappear seconds later. If you've ever driven down a lonely Texas highway at night, you know the feeling. The silence presses in, your headlights struggle against the dark, and every mile seems to echo with unseen eyes watching. These are not just stories. They're encounters passed down from terrified travelers who swore never to return. Tonight, we take you down Texas' 15 most haunted roads and highways, where the living and the dead share the pavement. Stay with us, because once you hear these tales, you'll think twice before driving alone after dark. Before we begin, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another chilling story. And if you're brave enough, like this video and share it with someone who dares to drive these haunted paths with you. Haunted Road Number 1, Bragg Road, the Ghost Road of Saratoga. Haunted Bragg Road in East Texas is perhaps the most famous haunted highway in the entire state. Known as the Ghost Road, this lonely stretch cuts through the thick forests of the Big Thicket near Saratoga. By day, the road seems almost ordinary, surrounded by pine trees and swamplands. But when night falls, it transforms into one of the most unsettling places you can drive. For decades, travelers have reported a mysterious light floating along the road. It flickers, hovers, and sometimes chases cars as if guided by unseen hands. Locals call it the Saratoga Light. Some say it is the lantern of a railroad worker who was decapitated in a tragic accident, still searching for his lost head. Others claim it belongs to the spirit of a man who was murdered in the woods and left to wander for eternity. The stories get darker when you hear from those who dared to follow the light. Drivers have reported engines stalling, headlights failing, and cold spots creeping into their cars. One tale tells of a couple who pulled over, hoping to see the light up close. When it finally appeared, it was not a lantern but a glowing orb that moved swiftly toward them. Terrified, they tried to start their engine, but the car would not move until the light vanished into the trees. Older residents whisper that Bragg Road itself was once a burial ground, and disturbing the land awoke restless spirits. Some believe the light is not one ghost but many, trapped and wandering the area after violent deaths in the forest. Even today, paranormal investigators come here with cameras and recorders, hoping to capture proof. Many leave with strange photographs, unexplained voices on tape, and an eerie feeling that someone was walking beside them in the dark. If you stop, turn off your engine, and listen, the silence is overwhelming. But then, faintly, you may hear footsteps on the gravel road. Would you drive down Bragg Road at midnight, with no headlights except for that mysterious glow approaching you from a distance? Or would you turn back before the ghosts of Saratoga reach your car? Number 2, Demons Road, Huntsville. Haunted Demons Road in Huntsville is infamous even among Texas ghost hunters. Officially called Bowden Road, it leads directly to the notorious Martha Chapel Cemetery, a place already steeped in legends and fear. Locals warn newcomers that once you turn onto this road, you are no longer alone. The road is narrow, lined with overgrown trees that seem to close in around you as you drive deeper. By daylight it feels uneasy, but at night the darkness becomes suffocating, and the air grows unnaturally heavy. Many who have driven down Demons Road say they felt watched from the shadows before they even reached the cemetery. Countless stories tell of shadowy figures walking along the roadside or darting into the trees. Drivers describe seeing a ghostly man who stares with hollow eyes, only to vanish when headlights catch him. Others report being followed by glowing red eyes in the woods, pacing their car, keeping up no matter how fast they drive. The most terrifying tales involve the spirits of children. People have seen small handprints appear suddenly on the windows of their cars, as if invisible hands were reaching from beyond. Some drivers felt the car shake violently, even though the road was empty. One man swore that when he looked in his rearview mirror, he saw a pale child sitting in the back seat, staring silently at him. Locals say if you disrespect the cemetery at the end of Demons Road, the spirits will follow you home. Strange noises, night terrors, and even poltergeist activity have been reported by those who dared to provoke the dead there. Some believe that Demons Road is not just haunted but cursed, a gateway between our world and something far darker. Even seasoned paranormal investigators have been shaken by their experiences here. Cameras fail, batteries drain instantly, and eerie EVPs capture whispers warning them to leave. Number 3, La Bahía Road, Goliad. Haunted La Bahía Road in Goliad carries the weight of centuries of blood and betrayal. This stretch of road follows part of the old Spanish route, once a vital passageway for settlers, soldiers, and traders. But behind its peaceful appearance today lies a violent history that has left echoes too strong to be silenced. The road is forever linked to the Goliad massacre of 1836. During the Texas Revolution, more than 300 Texian prisoners were marched down this route after surrendering at the Battle of Coleto. They believed they would be spared. Instead, Mexican forces executed them along the way, their bodies left scattered in the dust. The cries of the dying stained this land, and locals say those cries still travel with the wind at night. Drivers tell of seeing ghostly columns of men marching silently along the roadside, their heads bowed in sorrow. Some appear in ragged uniforms, carrying muskets that vanish into thin air when headlights pass over them. On foggy nights, travelers claim the mist itself takes the shape of soldiers, drifting in formation before dissolving into the darkness. Stranger still are the sounds. Witnesses have reported hearing phantom drumbeats echoing across the fields, as if the army were still on the march. Others swear they have heard gunfire and the desperate screams of men begging for mercy. These sounds come from nowhere, and vanish just as suddenly, leaving travelers shaken and afraid to continue. Locals warn that those who linger too long at night on La Bahía Road may experience direct encounters. Some drivers describe sudden cold spots inside their cars, or seeing the figure of a blooded soldier staring through the window before disappearing into the shadows. A few claim unseen hands have touched them, pulling at their clothes, as if the dead were reaching out for help that never came. The weight of tragedy hangs so heavy here that even skeptics admit to feeling uneasy when traveling this path after dark. Goliad's history is etched into the very ground, and La Bahía Road serves as a grim reminder that the dead do not forget. Number 4, Patterson Road, Houston, Bear Creek area. Haunted Patterson Road, in the Bear Creek area of Houston, looks like nothing more than an ordinary stretch of asphalt lined with trees. By day, it feels calm and almost unremarkable, a quiet passage used by locals to cut through the neighborhood. But once night falls, Patterson Road changes. The air thickens, the silence grows uneasy, and those who know the stories refuse to linger. The haunting here goes back to the Civil War. This land is said to have been the site of a bloody skirmish between Confederate and Union forces. Soldiers died where they stood, their bodies scattered across the ground that would one day become the modern road. Locals say those restless spirits never left, and they are the reason Patterson Road is feared to this day. The most famous legend involves ghostly handprints. Drivers claim that if you stop your car in the middle of the road at night, the spirits of soldiers will push against your vehicle. When you get out, you may find handprints smeared across the dust or glass, too small and too many to belong to anyone living. Some describe the eerie sensation of their cars shaking gently, as if unseen figures were surrounding and shoving it from every side. But that is not the only phenomenon. Witnesses have spoken of disembodied whispers carried through the trees. Sometimes they sound like men giving orders, other times like low moans of pain. A few have even heard cannon fire echoing faintly in the distance, impossible in a modern city yet unmistakable to those who know the sound. Phantom soldiers are also part of the tale. Shadowy figures have been spotted darting between the trees or standing along the roadside, their forms hazy and indistinct. Drivers who try to focus on them say they vanish before the eyes, leaving only a lingering chill and a pounding heart. One chilling story tells of a driver who saw a soldier standing in the middle of the road, rifle in hand. When the headlights hit him, he dissolved into nothing. Locals say the energy on Patterson Road is strongest between midnight and 3 a.m. Some residents even avoid driving there during those hours, believing the road becomes a gathering ground for the dead. Paranormal investigators who have visited claim to have recorded strange voices and unexplained knocks, confirming that something unnatural lurks in the darkness. Number 5, Highway 281, Blanco to Johnson City. Highway 281 between Blanco and Johnson City is a stretch of road with deep Texas history, and with it comes strange, unsettling tales. Travelers say this highway is haunted by two distinct apparitions, one tied to the Old West, and the other to a timeless tragedy. The first legend is that of a phantom stagecoach. In the 1800s, This road was part of a stagecoach line carrying mail, goods, and passengers through the hill country. Bandits often targeted coaches, leaving behind stories of robberies and bloodshed. Locals claim that on quiet nights, especially under a pale moon, you might hear the pounding hooves of horses long dead. Some have even seen the glowing outline of a stagecoach racing down the road, lanterns swinging, only to vanish into the dark. Witnesses describe the sound of wheels grinding against gravel, the crack of a whip, and voices calling out, yet no living driver is ever there. The second story is more personal, and far more chilling. Drivers report seeing a lady in white wandering the roadside. She appears in old-fashioned clothing, her face pale, her steps slow and aimless. Those who try to stop to help her say she disappears before they reach her. Others have claimed she suddenly appears in the middle of the highway, forcing drivers to swerve in terror. Her identity is uncertain, but many believe she was a woman killed in a carriage or car accident, doomed to repeat her final walk night after night. Some say the stagecoach and the woman are connected, both tied to the dangers and tragedies of Texas travel long ago. Others think they are separate hauntings, each leaving its own mark on the same lonely road. Either way, Highway 281 has earned its reputation as one of the hill country's eeriest stretches. Next time you drive from Blanco to Johnson City, watch the shadows carefully. Listen for hooves when there are no horses. And if you see the lady in white, don't blink, she may already be gone. Number 6, Stagecoach Road, Marshall. Stagecoach Road in Marshall is one of East Texas' most unsettling drives, a place where the past refuses to stay buried. This narrow, dirt-covered path winds through towering trees that seem to close in on you the deeper you go. In daylight, it feels forgotten, like a relic from another century. At night, though, it transforms into something else entirely, a road where history and horror overlap, where countless visitors swear they have encountered things no headlights should ever reveal. Stagecoach Road dates back to the 1800s, when it was a major route for travelers, merchants, and settlers moving through East Texas. Stagecoaches rattled down this trail, carrying everything from mail to families searching for new lives. But this road was also dangerous. Bandits lurked in the woods, ready to ambush passing carriages. Travelers were robbed, beaten, and sometimes killed, their blood seeping into the soil that remains beneath your tires today. Locals whisper that the very trees here absorbed those violent memories, and at night they release them as chilling echoes. People who dare to drive or walk Stagecoach Road after dark tell stories of ghostly apparitions. The most common is the sight of a spectral stagecoach barreling down the dirt trail, its horses silent, its wheels spinning but never touching the ground. Witnesses say the driver is nothing but a dark figure holding the reins, faceless and unmoving. The coach rushes past at an impossible speed before vanishing into the forest, leaving behind only the faint smell of burning wood and dust. But the stagecoach isn't the only spirit tied to this haunted path. Shadows appear among the trees, moving as though watching intruders from every angle. Some drivers have reported seeing lanterns swinging in the distance, as though someone is leading them into the woods. When they try to follow, the lights vanish instantly, leaving them stranded in suffocating darkness. Others say they've encountered the spirit of a woman in old pioneer dress, clutching her side as if she had been wounded. She approaches the edge of the road, her mouth opening to scream but no sound ever comes out. Before anyone can react, she disappears into thin air. What makes Stagecoach Road truly terrifying, though, is the soundscape that surrounds it. Engines sputter for no reason. Car doors lock and unlock on their own. Visitors claim to hear disembodied voices whispering their names, followed by the sudden crack of a whip or the heavy stomp of hooves in the dirt. Many insist the road has an oppressive energy, as if unseen forces are pressing down on anyone who dares to enter. Even locals avoid Stagecoach Road after sundown. It is said that if you park and turn off your engine, you'll hear the faint rumble of wheels approaching, though the road is completely empty. Some claim unseen hands have struck their vehicles, leaving dents or scratches with no explanation. And a few believe that the spirits of murdered travelers are still searching for justice, attaching themselves to anyone who trespasses at night. Stagecoach Road is more than just an abandoned trail, it's a living graveyard of forgotten souls, forever replaying the tragedies of its past. Those who enter say they leave with a sense that something followed them home, a reminder that the journey down this haunted road never truly ends. Number 7, Route 66 Ghost Stretch, Amarillo Region. Route 66 in the Amarillo region is more than an abandoned piece of America's most famous highway. It is a ghost stretch where travelers report strange lights, phantom hitchhikers, and eerie sounds that turn a simple drive into a nightmare. Once a lively road filled with diners, motels, and neon signs, this section of Route 66 has fallen silent. The cracked asphalt and boarded-up businesses seem frozen in time, but at night, something far darker stares here. Locals say that when the sun drops and the plains grow quiet, Route 66 becomes a stage for the spirits of those who never made it to their destination. This part of the highway saw countless accidents over the decades, high-speed crashes, late-night rollovers, and even truckers who lost control in bad weather. Some victims were buried nearby, and others were never found. Travelers whisper that these restless souls still haunt the pavement, their presence felt in bone-chilling encounters. The most common story involves the phantom hitchhiker. Drivers late at night describe a young woman standing on the side of the road, dressed in tattered clothing, her hair hanging in her face. She raises her arm, asking for a ride. When compassionate travelers pull over, she disappears instantly, leaving only the sound of gravel crunching beneath invisible feet. Some have even claimed she appears inside the back seat of their car, silent and pale, only to vanish once the driver looks back. Then there are the mysterious lights. Orbs of white, green, or red float across the highway with no source in sight. Truckers describe headlights racing toward them at impossible speeds, only for the road to go completely black a moment before impact. Others swear the lights follow them for miles, hovering just above their rear bumper, before suddenly darting into the empty fields. Scientists might call them natural gas or reflections, but those who have seen them say the lights feel intelligent, like something is stalking them. Even stranger are the reports of disembodied sounds. Tires squeal on the pavement when the road is empty. Horns blare in the distance. Radios turn on by themselves, filling the silence with old country songs from the 1950s, only to cut out in static seconds later. Some visitors claim to hear voices through the static, soft, pleading cries, as though someone is still calling for help after a crash decades ago. The atmosphere on this ghost stretch is oppressive. Many drivers say their cars suddenly lose power, headlights flicker, and engines stall for no reason. When the vehicles restart, clocks inside show the wrong time, as if they have skipped forward by several minutes. Those who walk the stretch at night describe feeling watched, their skin crawling as shadows dart between the broken motels and decaying billboards. For ghost hunters and thrill seekers, Route 66 Amarillo region remains a chilling destination. But for those who accidentally find themselves there after dark, it is a reminder that America's most iconic highway holds not only history but also secrets that refuse to fade. Every traveler who passes through risks becoming part of the next ghost story whispered about along the endless Texas plains. Number 8, East 5th Street Bridge, Austin. East 5th Street Bridge in Austin looks like an ordinary overpass by day, carrying the flow of traffic into the heart of the city. But after dark, this unassuming structure transforms into one of the most unnerving places in Texas. Locals speak in hushed tones about shadowy figures, sudden whispers, and an unsettling heaviness that clings to anyone who dares linger too long beneath its arches. The bridge has a tragic history tied to suicides. For decades, desperate souls leapt from its concrete edge into the waters or tracks below, ending their lives in silence. Many believe those final moments imprinted themselves onto the bridge, leaving behind restless energy. Drivers late at night often glimpse pale shapes standing on the railings, arms outstretched as if ready to jump. When they slow to look closer, the figures vanish, leaving nothing but empty air and the sound of their own heartbeat racing. Pedestrians tell even darker stories. Some claim that when they walk across alone, unseen footsteps echo right behind them, keeping pace until the middle of the bridge. Others feel cold hands brush against their arms or shoulders, as though someone is trying to pull them toward the edge. A few have even reported hearing muffled sobs carried on the wind, the unmistakable sound of grief lingering long after the living have gone. The apparitions here are varied, but one in particular chills the blood, the woman in white who appears at the far end of the bridge. Witnesses describe her as tall, with long hair and a gown that looks soaked through, as if she climbed from the river below. She stands silently until someone approaches, and then she steps forward, vanishing into thin air before their eyes. Some say she tries to flag down passing cars, her face twisted with sorrow, only to disappear when the driver slows down. What makes the East 5th Street Bridge even more unnerving is the way technology reacts. Phones lose signal, recordings pick up strange static, and photos come back with blurred figures that were never there. Paranormal investigators who set up equipment beneath the bridge report temperature drops, electromagnetic spikes, and faint whispers caught on tape, pleading voices repeating the words "help me" or "don't let go." For many Austinites, the bridge has become more than a landmark. It is a symbol of both tragedy and mystery, where the line between the living and the dead feels dangerously thin. To this day, locals warn newcomers not to cross it alone at night, especially around midnight. Whether the apparitions are echoes of lost lives or something darker feeding on the sorrow, the East 5th Street Bridge remains a place where Austin's lively music and culture give way to silence, shadows, and the lingering presence of the dead. Number 9, Highway 87, Port Arthur to Sabine Pass, Vanishing Hitchhikers. Highway 87, the long and lonely stretch that cuts from Port Arthur down toward Sabine Pass, is more than asphalt laid across marshland. By day, it looks like an ordinary Gulf Coast road, with fishing boats in the distance and flat Texas wetlands stretching to the horizon. But once the sun sets and the fog rolls in from the water, Highway 87 becomes something far more sinister. Travelers say it feels cursed, heavy with a silence that presses against the windshield, as though the land itself remembers tragedy. The most chilling legend tied to this highway is the vanishing hitchhiker. Drivers report seeing a young woman standing by the roadside, dressed in pale clothing, her face obscured by her long dark hair. She appears in the glow of headlights, often near the ruins of old motels or stretches where accidents once claimed lives. Sometimes she raises her hand, as though begging for a ride. Those who stop say she climbs into the back seat without a word. For a few miles she sits in silence, staring out the window, her skin ghostly pale and her dress appearing damp, as though she walked from the sea. But before the car reaches Sabine Pass, she disappears, leaving the seat cold, wet, and empty. Truckers, who know every turn of this road, also whisper about the phantom hitchhiker. One driver claimed he picked up a soldier in uniform who asked to be taken toward Port Arthur. As they drove, the man spoke in an old-fashioned way, mentioning places that no longer exist. When the driver glanced in the mirror, the soldier was gone, leaving behind only the faint smell of gunpowder. Some believe these spirits are tied to long-past wars and hurricanes that devastated the region, their restless souls still wandering Highway 87. The highway itself feels alive with strange activity. Lights sometimes appear on the road, bright orbs floating toward drivers before vanishing into the night. Others describe hearing footsteps on the shoulder when they stop, or catching sight of shadows darting across the pavement even when no one is there. Locals insist the spirits here are not random, they are tied to the countless wrecks, drownings, and storms that have scarred the Gulf Coast for generations. Perhaps the most unsettling part of Highway 87 is the feeling of being watched. Travelers often report that when they pass through certain stretches, especially where the marshland closes in tight, an unseen presence follows their car. Rearview mirrors show dark shapes for a second, then nothing at all. Phones lose signal. Radios crackle with voices that aren't part of any station. Highway 87 has claimed lives through both human misfortune and the wrath of nature. Flooding, hurricanes, and accidents left behind scars on the land. Those who drive it after midnight say the veil thins, and the lost are never far from sight. The vanishing hitchhikers of Highway 87 remain one of Texas' most enduring ghost stories, chilling reminders that not every passenger who enters your car is truly alive. Number 10, Old Foxtrot Road, Dallas Outskirts. They say if you drive down Old Foxtrot Road at night, the darkness feels different. It is not the ordinary stillness of a country road but a suffocating black that seems to swallow your headlights. Locals whisper that this road has taken lives and refuses to let go, trapping the souls of those who never made it home. Old Foxtrot Road winds through the outskirts of Dallas, where abandoned farmhouses and overgrown fields sit in silence. In the dead of night, travelers report seeing figures walking along the shoulder, their outlines barely visible until the car passes. When drivers look in the rearview mirror, the figures are gone. Some describe them as shadowy men, others as a woman in white who drifts just above the ground, her long gown dragging through the dust. The most infamous story involves a couple who crashed on this road decades ago. Their car was found mangled against a tree, but the bodies were never recovered. Since then, drivers claim to see two ghostly figures hand in hand, walking into the woods before fading into nothing. Others say they hear laughter, faint at first, then echoing around the trees as if a crowd is watching from the darkness. Paranormal investigators who visited Old Foxtrot Road describe sudden drops in temperature, headlights failing for no reason, and a sensation of being followed. Some even report handprints appearing on their car windows, small and smudged, as though from children pressing their palms against the glass. No children were ever found living along this stretch. Locals warn never to stop your car here after midnight. Those who did tell of hearing knocks on their windows and voices calling their names even though no one was outside. A few claim that when they tried to restart their engines, their cars refused to move until the shadows melted back into the fields. Old Foxtrot Road is no ordinary shortcut. It is a place where the living and the dead share the same path, where headlights reveal more than they should, and where travelers are never certain if they will leave with only memories or with something unseen sitting in the backseat. Number 11, River Legacy Park Road, Arlington. At night, River Legacy Park Road feels like a trap. The trees arch overhead, blotting out the moonlight, and the air grows unnervingly still. Locals say the silence never lasts long. Before you realize it, footsteps begin to echo in the brush, too heavy to belong to deer. Whispers drift across the wind, but when you stop to listen, they cut off instantly, as if the speakers vanished into thin air. The haunting of this road stretches back to the Civil War. Legends claim soldiers fought and died near these woods, their bodies buried in unmarked graves. Those restless spirits are said to wander the road at night, their boots striking the dirt in perfect military rhythm. Drivers report seeing men in faded gray uniforms stepping out of the tree line, rifles clutched in their hands, their faces pale and hollow. By the time the headlights hit them, they disappear. Some visitors describe hearing the crack of musket fire and the cries of wounded men. Others speak of phantom lanterns bobbing through the trees, as if soldiers are still patrolling the battlefield long after death. The most chilling accounts involve shadowy figures materializing in the middle of the road, forcing cars to slam their brakes. When the driver steps out, the road is empty, yet the crunch of footsteps continues all around. One story tells of a group of friends who parked late at night, curious about the legends. As they sat in silence, their car began to shake violently, as if hands were pounding against the doors. When they finally sped away, muddy handprints covered the windows and trunk. Even those who try to dismiss the stories admit that River Legacy Park Road carries an oppressive weight, as though the past refuses to rest. The soldiers who fought here may have been forgotten by history, but on this haunted stretch of asphalt, their march goes on, endless and unbroken. Number 12, Loop 1604, San Antonio. There is a part of Loop 1604 in San Antonio where the headlights of passing cars seem to catch more than just the pavement. Drivers whisper of shadows stepping out onto the road, only to vanish before the vehicle makes contact. Others swear they've seen pale figures staring from the side of the highway, their eyes fixed and hollow, as if watching every car that dares to pass. This loop has long been associated with unexplained accidents. Some say the road itself is cursed, built over unsettled ground where tragedies stained the land. Over the years, countless collisions have been blamed not only on sharp turns and high speeds but also on something far less natural. Survivors of near misses claim a person appeared in the road out of nowhere, forcing them to swerve. When they pulled over, shaken, there was no one to be found. Locals tell of a woman in white who wanders the stretch late at night, her figure illuminated by headlights before she fades like smoke. Others have seen men in torn clothing, their faces marked with wounds, stumbling across the asphalt only to dissolve into thin air. Truckers share stories of spectral hands smearing across their windshields or the sensation of being followed by unseen eyes. One chilling account comes from a young couple who drove the loop after midnight. They saw a figure standing in the center lane, a man with his head bowed. The driver swerved violently, certain he had avoided a fatal crash. But when they stopped to look back, the road was completely empty. Yet the smell of burning rubber lingered in the air, and faintly, they heard a low moan echoing from the dark fields beyond. Loop 1604 feels like more than a highway. It is a place where past deaths replay themselves, where spirits seem tied to the asphalt, dragging the living into their tragedy. For many in San Antonio, this road is more than dangerous. It is haunted ground, where each mile traveled is another chance to meet the eyes of the dead. Number 13, Highway 281 South, San Antonio. On a quiet stretch of Highway 281 South in San Antonio lies one of Texas' most chilling legends. Drivers who find themselves near the old railroad tracks late at night speak of something impossible, something terrifying. They say that if your car stalls on the tracks, unseen hands will push you to safety. Not the hands of the living, but the small, cold hands of children who died here long ago. The story begins with tragedy. Decades ago, a school bus carrying children was struck by a train at this very crossing. The crash was devastating, leaving no survivors. Since then, locals have whispered that the children's spirits never moved on. Instead, they linger, determined to protect others from the same fate. Curious visitors often test the legend. They park their cars in neutral on the tracks and wait in silence. Within moments, the vehicle begins to roll forward, as though pushed by invisible force. Many insist they feel a faint rocking, as if small palms are pressing against the metal. Some sprinkle baby powder on their bumpers before the test. When they check afterward, they find smudges, tiny handprints etched in powder, proof, they believe, that the children's ghosts have touched their cars. One driver described his encounter in chilling detail. He and his friends laughed nervously as their car slowly moved off the tracks, but the laughter stopped when the engine died completely. In the rearview mirror, he swore he saw the faint shapes of children standing in the road, silent, still, and watching. When he blinked, they were gone, leaving only the eerie quiet of the night. The haunting of Highway 281 South has become a mix of fear and reverence. Some avoid it entirely, unwilling to tempt fate. Others go searching for proof, only to leave shaken, convinced the legend is no trick of the road but the restless spirits of children determined to keep others alive. This place isn't only haunted. It is a grave reminder of innocence lost and a tragedy that echoes through time. On Highway 281 South, the dead have taken it upon themselves to guard the living. Number 14, Lonesome Highway, near Big Bend. The Lonesome Highway in West Texas carries a reputation as one of the most desolate and terrifying roads in the state. Stretching through the lonely desert near Big Bend, this stretch of blacktop has earned its name. Drivers describe an oppressive silence here, where the wind howls like voices and the stars shine with an almost unnatural brilliance. But the quiet doesn't comfort, it unsettles. Because once you enter the Lonesome Highway at night, you are never sure what might follow you back out. For decades, travelers have reported strange, glowing orbs of light that appear on the horizon. At first, they look like distant headlights. But then the lights shift, darting across the sky, hovering over the desert floor, or rushing toward cars at impossible speeds. These mystery lights vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving drivers shaking and unsure if they truly saw anything at all. Some stories go further. A truck driver once claimed the glowing orbs surrounded his rig, pulsing brighter until his radio cut to static and his engine faltered. He sat frozen, gripping the wheel, certain that whatever was outside wasn't human. When the lights vanished, his truck roared back to life, but he swore he saw figures standing along the desert roadside, thin, shadow-like forms watching him as he sped away. Disappearances are also part of the legend. Locals tell of travelers who never made it to their destination after taking this road at night. Their vehicles were later found abandoned, doors unlocked, headlights still glowing, but with no trace of the driver. Some believe the desert claimed them. Others whisper of forces far stranger at work, spirits of the land, alien presences, or even something demonic that prowls the Lonesome Highway in search of souls. Those brave enough to test the road often do so with dread. They describe how the air grows heavy, how even the desert animals go silent, and how the sense of being watched becomes unbearable. Some make it through without incident. Others emerge pale, shaken, and unwilling to ever drive that way again. The Lonesome Highway isn't simply an empty road. It's a place where reality frays, where the veil between the natural and the supernatural thins. Out here in the Texas desert, when the lights appear and the silence deepens, you might find yourself face to face with something that doesn't belong to this world. Number 15, Old San Antonio Road, Texas. Few roads in Texas carry the weight of history quite like the Old San Antonio Road. Once a vital artery connecting Spanish missions, forts, and settlements, it now stretches through rural landscapes that seem frozen in time. But time is not the only thing that lingers here. Centuries of footsteps, battles, and tragedies have left a spectral imprint that makes this road one of the most haunted in the state. Travelers report the sudden appearance of shadowy figures that vanish when approached. Some see soldiers from long-past skirmishes marching silently along the roadside, muskets in hand, their faces obscured by mist. Others speak of ghostly wagons and riders, echoes of settlers and traders whose journeys ended too soon. On stormy nights, when lightning illuminates the twisted mesquite trees, the air is said to carry whispers of ancient voices, Spanish, Native American, and pioneers alike. But the hauntings go beyond simple apparitions. Drivers recount seeing phantom carriages blocking the road, forcing them to swerve or stop. Some claim the same figure, a woman in colonial dress, appears on the roadside, her gaze hollow, arms outstretched as if pleading for help. Those who stop often hear a faint sobbing or feel an icy chill that seeps into the bones. Local legend warns of a time loop on certain stretches of the road. Travelers say they can drive for miles and, without realizing it, end up passing the same bend repeatedly. Some report their watches stopping, radios crackling with old Spanish music, or GPS devices showing impossible coordinates. It is as if the road itself remembers every footstep and carriage wheel from centuries past, replaying scenes of sorrow, violence, and longing for anyone who dares to drive its length. The old San Antonio Road is not for the faint of heart. Its long history of human struggle, tragedy, and unexplained phenomena has made it a living museum of ghosts. Anyone who ventures here after dark does so at their own risk, potentially becoming another story whispered along the road for years to come. This marks the end of our chilling journey through Texas' 15 most haunted roads and highways. Each one holds secrets, specters, and stories that remind us that some paths are best traveled with caution or perhaps never at all. As the moon rises over the desolate highways of Texas, the shadows lengthen and the stories linger. Each road we've traveled tonight carries echoes of lives lost, spirits unsettled, and tragedies that refuse to fade. From spectral soldiers marching in Arlington to vanishing hitchhikers on Highway 87, the Lone Star State proves that some roads are more than asphalt, they are gateways to the unknown. If you think you're brave enough, remember this: every turn could reveal what the living are not meant to see. Keep your eyes on the road, your hands on the wheel, and never travel alone after dark. Now tell me, which road would you dare to drive? Which legend chills you the most? Share your thoughts below and join the conversation. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a journey into the unexplained. Some roads are haunted, but curiosity drives us forward.